Hey, good morning, Dan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Oh, there go my dogs. The first time I talk every morning, they're like, "Oh my God."
No
So
worries,
what
no
you got?
worries. So we're going to have every time I get on a webinar, we got a guy who has like a 30-year-old car right outside my window who starts it up. And it is the loudest thing. Every video I'm in, it's like he has that timing down perfectly.
Yeah, he's probably watching you. Where are
so
you located?
so I am in a little bit north of Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, nice. Cold
Yep.
right now?
It is. It's 28 degrees. So
Wow.
actually now it's up to a nice balmy 40 degrees right now.
That's exactly what it is here in
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, but it's only 8 a.m. So I appreciate you hopping on early here.
Yep, my pleasure. It's usually
So
when I push it to the last minute, something goes wrong.
well, so we're waiting for people to go ahead and join us. I want to go ahead and I'm using Fisher's setup here. So that's always interesting to see if I can make it work for us when I'm using someone else's logins. So he was not able to join us today,
Uh,
but it
when
should
did
be.
you start doing these?
So we started doing what we call the Survivor Series last year.
Uh,
And that was really about meeting with loan officers who, I mean, some were thriving, some were doing great, some were just like, getting by on
yeah,
this. But we really want to show, hey, this is what people are doing to stay afloat.
yeah,
In 24, we wanted to flip this around to something that was not necessarily about surviving, but kind of turning the business around and getting back to it and doing what we need to do and recognizing that we can no longer be woe is me. This isn't 21, 22.
right, exactly.
This is our new normal, and this is what we have to start working with. So we're doing it. We call it the revival series. Just hey, we're all reviving our businesses and getting back out there. So we're focused on bringing as many good people on that want to focus in the industry, from leaders like you to just the individual loan officer that's just out there doing it every single day, and it's just growing their business. So
Yeah.
I got off a call a few minutes ago, company call or weekly sales call, and got a guy's fairly new in the business, so he didn't know anything.
Right,
He
right.
didn't know what it was like, and he just came in and just has been making his phone calls and just doing his prospecting and working his database, and he closed 3 million last month. Like,
That's really cool. Yeah. We have an
so
old sales story like that, which I don't think we have time to tell, but it's very much like that.
yep. So it is. Again, it's just one of those things that for those of us who are, I came from. I'm gonna go ahead and go live here. So get this going in Mortgage Loan Officer Network. But I started in the subprime days. So I did 10 years of corporate America, 9 years of corporate America, came to the subprime days, and all of a sudden I made like in 2 months, half of my yearly salary. I was like, this is the best.
Yeah,
It's
I
the greatest
remember
thing
that.
ever. But then obviously it all changed and I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know what the business really was at that time.
Hmm.
Um, so I had to completely relearn the business. And, I feel like that's what a lot of folks are doing here as well. So, but all
Sure.
right, well, it is 11 a.m. on the dot. We are live in Mortgage Loan Officer Network. TJ Barker here. Our fearless leader, Mr. Michael Fisher, was unavailable, but I am so fortunate. We have got mortgage industry legend, advocate, friend to MLO Network, Mr. Dan Rawitch, joining us for today's revival series. Dan, thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us here. It's been a couple of years since we've had you on, I think.
It's been a long time for sure.
So today, what we do with this revival series is what we were talking a little bit about earlier today. Let me see. Yep, good. I am recording here.
Mhm.
So is this is last year was all about surviving. This year we want to focus on building our businesses and thriving and looking at ways that us as loan officers, this is what I started telling you about before, like a lot of us didn't know what the business really is, have never experienced the ups and the downs. And we went through some pretty big downs right there.
Yeah.
And you've been a real advocate in this industry since I've been following you, which has been a long time, since you're doing mortgage coach updates, rate updates on you know, a PowerPoint, like this is the good and this is the bad.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
the
Wow. That goes
green.
back. That's at least 10, 12 years ago.
Yep, yep. So, but you've always been an advocate in, you know, just not having all of your eggs in one basket, essentially. So,
Yeah.
first off, before we get into that, though, I'd like to start just for anyone who doesn't know you, the 30-second, you know, overview of who you are, you know, why you are, you know, just kind of your background and, you know, what you've been doing here.
Sure. So it's hard for me to say my name in 30 seconds, but I'll do my best. So I'm not a spring chicken. I got in the business in 79. I was a sophomore in college. Um, so my origination roots go long and deep. And then after college, I was my dream was to work on Wall Street. I don't know why. I was like just that was I was driven for that. So I was recruited by Bear Stearns in the early 80s. And if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, that's not so inaccurate. It was a really crazy time. I personally hated it. Um, so anyway, from there, I founded a company called DataFax, which is a credit reporting firm that we sold to TransUnion, and then founded RPM Mortgage, which we sold to a company called Finet. I later became CEO of Finet, and just right time, right place. We were the first company to do mortgages on the internet. Um, yeah, and then various executive jobs in the mortgage industry, but overall, I'm a trader. It goes back to my first days in Wall Street. I've never not been a trader, and so when I left kind of the mortgage space, I decided to really go at this full time again.
So, well, and that's something we definitely want to talk about here. But before we do that, I would be remiss to not get your opinion on the market because that's where a lot of us got to know you, right? Is like we just mentioned from Rate Watch and from your daily market updates. And I tell you, one of the things I've always there's a lot of prognosticators out there, and everyone has I guess their favorites. One of the things I've always valued about you is you've always tried to break down a lot of the complexities in a way that the average person who isn't necessarily a trader
Right.
can understand in there. But also, it's more than just looking at the charts doing this, the charts doing that. You try to put yourself, I guess, from your experience, the emotion, the mind of the trader, and what may cause someone to do this, what may cause someone to do that, and how that impacts us inside our industry. But again, just kind of where we are almost through first quarter, 2024 here. Your thoughts on where we've been and where we're going to.
So, I've been well, it depends on how you want to really score me, but I've been a little bit off. I thought by now rates would be much lower. I was on a call with Dave Savage, I don't know, a few months ago, and I said, 30-year fixed rates are going to be at 5% soon, and they actually touched it. So I was right for a second, and I said I got that going for me. I still firmly believe we're going to see dramatically lower rates. And right now, I think TJ, you know this about me. I usually don't have an opinion unless I have data to back it up. A lot of people think, oh my God, how does he know it's not like that. It's just, read the data. And we try to teach loan officers how to do that because realtors really admire you when you get up there and talk about the economy. So that's just a tip. So a couple things that are going on right now. The stock market by any measurement, it's way overbought. Are we still trading? Are we still in it? Yep, because I'm not going to let my bias get in the way of making money when there's a trend. But there's a couple of interesting things going on right now. First of all, Warren Buffett is accumulating cash at a speed he's never done in history. I'm looking at a slide right now, and this quarter so far, he's accumulated way more cash than he's ever done, even before '09. And you can look at this graph I'm looking at, and he always seems to sort of build up cash just before something bad happens. So I think he's probably feeling what I'm feeling, but more importantly than that, more specific to bonds, there was a double top that was formed back in '08. And you might think, well, who cares about '08? But that's the way it's easy to read charts because they always do repeat themselves in one way or another. We're right up against that double top right now. The last time we were at that level, uh, the rates backed off fast and large to the bottom of the channel. I truly believe that's where we are. But more important than that, just looking at empirical data, there's an index which is the commodity. It's the Bloomberg Commodity Index. So it measures like gold and silver and oil and wheat and corn and all that sort of thing. And I remember back when we were coming out of 2020, that thing started just climbing like crazy. And I was showing people back then a slide that just really proves that when the commodity index goes up, rates follow. When it goes down, rates follow. Well, oddly enough, it peaked in mid 22 and it's been doing nothing but falling since then. And now with this last pullback, I know it hasn't been big, but the small pullback, you can see that it's now following the commodity index very closely. So this is to me a loud ringing bell of rates about to change. But then back to the stock market correlation, when Greenspan was fed, he said, the stock market's not our friend. It's too much. There's too much wealth coming into families. That's going to be inflationary. Of course, he was wrong back then about the inflation, but that's when he started raising rates. He raised rates, I think it was either 7 times in one year, just kept raising it every Fed meeting. One of the feds recently made exactly the same comment. And when I say recent, I mean this week. And she said that the stock market is really concerning us because number one, it's creating, with her words, too much artificial wealth in families. With that wealth starts coming into the markets, it's gonna hurt. So that's bad news in a certain extent, because to me that was the Fed's way of saying we're going to crash this thing. We're going to do what we have to do. And that could mean a rise in interest rates. But the problem is every time the Fed has started raising rates, something breaks. So if they start up again, oh my God, I don't even want to think about it. But at the moment, the market, let's see my chart. Back in January, the market was calling for 12 rate cuts just this year. And now, just 2 months later, the market's calling for 6 rate cuts. So the expectation in the market has been rates may not move down as fast as we think. But I do believe the stock market's about to crash. That's, kind of my theme about Buffett. And when that happens, you're going to see the Fed lower rates so unbelievably fast. So to summarize that, I'm a little late in my forecast, but I can't tell you how firmly I believe rates are going to be considerably lower. Immediately into the low threes, just because that double top is telling me on the chart. That's where it pulled back last time. So that was
So
a
to
long-winded
me,
answer.
what that says for the loan officer is now is the time to get your database built, to get your pre-approvals out there, to stay in front of as many people as possible, because there is an opportunity, whether it is 3 weeks or 3 months, right? But the opportunity is going to be there
For
to
sure.
get some recovery. But you got to be on top of it because
Yeah.
everyone else will want to be as well.
Yeah. You were telling me before we started about a loan officer that that was new in the business, didn't carry the baggage from the past, didn't come in thinking this is the easiest business in the world, came in ready to fight and did 3 million. And it reminds me of a story that I was told when I first got into. In fact, I think they told me this on Wall Street. So the way the story goes is there's a guy that got hired for a sales job and he was super nervous, and the sales manager said, look, go see Bob down the street. He buys every time. He never doesn't buy. It'll help your confidence. It'll get you familiar with our order process. So the sales guy leaves and says, okay, I'll be back. The sales guy did not come back for 3 hours. And he was all beat up, sweating, hair a mess, just been through a fight. And the sales manager said, well, what were you? Usually Bob's buys, and the guy goes, well, I wasn't there. I was across the street, at Tom's place. And the manager goes, Tom has never bought anything his entire life. But this point of the story is he thought for sure he had a sale and he acted as if he was going to have the sale and he didn't quit until he had the sale. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of indicative of your new guy you talked about.
Yeah, no, I said, it was, when I heard that, it was one of those things, I remember, again, talk about when my initial foray into this business was during the subprime days. And there's a story I tell a lot of. There was a guy who we shared a contract processor, and while I was sitting in my desk playing solitaire and doing the woe is me type of thing, and I'm just seeing him doing loan after loan after loan after loan, and finally, just I was talking to him, and I was like, "What are you doing?" It's like there's business out there. He's like, "You got to work 10 times as hard as you
Yeah.
ever did, right? But I've got a wife, and I got kids, and I got bills that I got to pay. I can't afford to sit around and not do business." Right
Right.
here. And, it just, I know it's one of those things. It's very easy for us to say that, right? Say, oh, you got to have that mentality. You got to do this. You got to do this. It's a lot harder to do it. But we've
Yes.
all seen it actually happen. And,
Yeah.
now you got to put those 2 years behind you and start anew. But again, start just accumulating clients and leads and people in your database and referral partners and everything else, because when that opportunity does present itself, it's time to jump on it. So, but awesome. Well, what we really wanted to bring you on here, though, was to kind of talk about one of the things that, again, and I always relate a lot of stuff back to me. And, when I joined the subprime days, joined the business, I left a bank job, I had a $70,000 a year salary. It was, 2006, 2005. And I was like, man, I'm doing great.
Yeah, not
I
bad.
mean, like half my salary in my first, 3 months in the
Yeah.
business that I had come to. And man, I was buying cars and buying houses,
Yeah.
going out and like, taking my wife and I went out with our friends. And I'm like, don't worry, spend $1,000 dinners, like crazy stuff, which is completely unlike me. But I got swept up in that whole, the big short type of approach that we all did. But, then back in 21, 22, Fisher and I kept telling, we started seeing people in MLO net. They're like, oh, I just did this. Check out my new car. And we're like, put your money away. This isn't going to last forever. And when the market changes, it's going to hurt, right? Save your money. And that's really, I think, what's, connected a lot of us to you. And one of the things that we've seen you, just building and helping and sharing is your university of options, and helping not just loan officers, but tons of people, all types of different backgrounds, build additional streams of income, right, through some very, I hate to say, but I don't want to say conservative, but safe trading methods. So again, you could share just a little bit about what you're doing with the University of Options, and kind of what your philosophy is with that.
Yeah, thanks. That's my favorite question. So it's interesting. You mentioned me being an advocate of multiple streams of income. So Todd Duncan, we just were a sponsor at the Momentum conference.
Yep.
Blinking out on the rest of the name. Anyway, Todd Duncan was up on stage, and who I respect. I'm not trying to be combative, but he said if you chase two rabbits, you won't catch either one. And I couldn't disagree more. Yes, you should put 90% of your energy into this. This is your career. You'll make money for sure. What you said is so true. If you tomorrow woke up and told yourself nothing happened in the past, I'm going to enter this business, because I learned back in the early 80s that even this business at its worst is long. I went and got a job like while I was in college, because the business got so bad, selling teddy bears, literally selling plush toys to department stores, and carrying this huge bag of teddy bears. I had to name every animal we sold. Company was called Russ Berry. And I would throw up on my way to work almost every day, because I had to walk in and talk to these biggest a-holes ever, these buyers in these department stores. So I made the decision back then. I said, if I would have worked this hard in the mortgage business, I would make 3 times more than I'm making here selling these damn teddy bears. So I went back in and became rejoined in as a loan officer. The whole thing was 2 months, and I had some of the best years of my life while other people were really suffering. So But had I had just something that I could depend on, it would have taken so much pressure off me.
Right.
And what you do, you don't want to spend too much time at. So we have a couple different things that we do. First of all, it's just really deep and broad mortgage knowledge. To give you an example of that, back when things were really cooking for you guys, I was telling our members exactly what you were saying, TJ. Put it away, put it away. And it's hard for a young person to conceive of that, or an old person if you've
Right.
never made that kind of money. I understand that. I was there once. So I started telling people that rather than buy a car, buy treasuries, because that is the absolute perfect hedge against your career and your life. Because when you're killing it, rates are at an all-time low, and that's the time to start buying some bonds. And then because they're cheap, and then when things go to hell, your bonds are going to be worth so much money. It's insane. And when I talk about bonds, I'm not talking about just the interest rate on the bonds, not at all. I'm talking about, you buy a 10-year treasury for 98 cents and you sell it for $1.08. So if you guys do that this time, just take a small part of your income and I can help you. I can tell you which treasuries to buy, because there's actually a stock called TLT. It's an ETF. So it trades just like all the other ETFs. And it's an easy way to get into treasuries. So we have clients that made so much money that they're just relaxed right now. And now's the time to be relaxed, and now's the time to have a nest egg, because every dollar you spend in marketing is worth 3 or 4 times more than the dollar was worth back when things were hot. Why? Because people came home and they had stacks of mail, this big, and they were all mortgage ads.
Right.
I haven't seen one of those in a long time. So if you put one out today, you'd see you'd get pretty darn good results. So that was just one thing, just the deeper market knowledge. We taught people how to hedge their careers. Oil companies don't sit on thousands of barrels and take market risk whether oil is going to go up or down. They buy oil in the futures market or sell it short. So that was just one thing of the program. But then we teach people how to trade options. And our program is really good. There's a 30 module course. I pretty much recorded the whole course myself. Once you understand enough about options to at least understand what a put and a call is, then you live trade with us. And we live trade with our members twice a day, every day. We very, very rarely have a losing day. Our senior trader, Lee, who's a former student that I just kept more responsibility to, he's amazing. He's actually better than I am. We call him Rain Man because he just can't not stare at a chart. Like, I thought I was obsessed. He's trading he's trading currencies in the middle of the night. He's trading futures, at 5 a.m. and then he's trading options when the market's open. He's insane. When we're having a sales meeting, you can always see Lee has this kind of face. And I go, Lee, that's your trading face. Like, turn off the damn chart. So it's very successful. And we're talking about an hour in the morning, maybe an hour in the afternoon, if you can. So the opportunity is 2 hours per day. I don't know how many of you guys are really making use of 8 or 9 hours of your day.
So it's
Probably
funny. So my wife has been a stay-at-home parent for 17 years now. And she's always, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And honestly, I got 3 kids in school. Our life is not built for her to go out and get a 40-hour-a-week job.
right.
It has not been. But we've been talking about this, and I was like, I've got my University of Options membership.
Mhm.
I'm like, babe, I'm going to get you involved with this, and you're going to learn how to do this. And it said 2 hours a day, you'll be able to start to go ahead and do something that, and again, it's not just about us bringing in more money, which of course we want to be profitable,
Mhm.
but it's given her a sense of, helping, supporting the family and being engaged in something, involved in something. And, so, she's actually pretty excited about that. And, and again, I am too. I'm like, sweet, right? I can
Yeah,
focus on origination,
exactly.
and we'll have that in there. But so if, again, you always want to be careful with what you say and, what type of expectations you can do. I think one of the things that a lot of folks get turned off about options is, they see these Instagram and these TikTok videos, and, these guys are like, oh, another $200,000 day, and, things like that. That's not your approach, right?
No, no. Yeah, I don't have a Maserati, and if
Right.
I you wouldn't see me take a picture in front of it. It's those guys are it's just a different mentality out there. Um, so our saying in our program is slow is fast. And it's like the old tortoise and the hare story when we were kids. The rabbit was fast, he was cocky and having a drink during the race and being just rude, and the tortoise just kept on going. Well, we've seen this now for years, and the people that will come in with a slower mentality, like paper trade for a couple of weeks, maybe a few weeks, then trade like really small for another couple of weeks. And as you gear up your trade size, you're gearing up with profits. So I don't want our members ever to be playing with their own money. In the beginning, you kind of have to. You got to
Right.
build up that account. But if you take your $5,000 account and you get it to 5,500, which isn't tough, now you step up your trading. And then when that is now it's going to go from 55 to 65 as fast as it went up the first 500. You're up again. You're up again. Those guys are killing the people that come in with a lot of money and a lot of ego. We just got a message. I was reading it before we started. And this guy, some of our members do like 2 pay or 3 pay plans. We don't do a lot of them, but sometimes we will if somebody's just doesn't have all the cash at the moment. Um, and he sent a note saying, can I stall my payment by 30 days? Why? He said, well, I'm down $3,000. It's like, how is that even possible? You joined 30 days ago. You should be just coming out of paper trading. And when you're done paper trading, you should be trading this big until you're getting the same results we are, our members and myself. So obviously he came in gunslinger. He's now down 3,000 while the tortoise started actually trading really small a few weeks ago. That person's going to be up 500 to $1,000. So slow really is fast. Um, and it doesn't really take a lot of money. We have, so we, let me, so options, I don't want to you know, throw out terminology and make people go, oh, that sounds scary.
Right.
Options are actually extremely simple. If we think the market's going to go up, we buy a call option. If we think the market's going to go down, we buy a put option. That simple. So we literally tell you when to go in. You're live trading. You're going in when we're going in. You're coming out when you're coming out. But just to finish that point, and options don't trade in shares, they trade in contracts. So one options contract is like you're trading 100 shares. So and we have a methodology that the options that we trade are really, really cheap. And it takes a little long to go into why that is. So we have members that are trading like 200 contracts. So we tell everybody if you can make 25 cents a day, which is really like making $25 per contract, and don't gear up how much you're trying to make every day because it's harder to do that. Gear up the amount of contracts you're trading. So these guys in our group that are trading 100, 200 contracts, they started with one, and they just kept building with the house's money. I trade 40 just because I have so much going on. I don't want to have trading be so much of my mind. And then we have members that are trading 5 contracts. But to put it in perspective, so Lee's daily goal is $50 a contract. He's our head trader. He trades 20 contracts. He literally makes $1,000 a day. He almost doesn't ever not make $1,000 a day.
Wow.
Yes, yesterday was a great day. I made triple what I normally make. So But if let's say you have limited capital, you're maybe going to gear up to 10 contracts at the most. But if you're making $25 per contract, which is so easy, it's like 2 trades times 10 contracts, you're going to make 250 bucks a day. And I think that 5 grand, would be a friend to anybody and be able to gear up from that. So so the program is 30 module course, live trading, and then we do 4 live classes a month. So there's no way you don't come out of this an expert. And then the other thing that we do, because we have a lot of clients that are mega producers, like names you would know, and they get too busy to trade all the time. So we develop these trading robots, and these things are pretty amazing. Our latest robot, we call it the Precision. It's up 170% since January 25th.
It's crazy.
Real number. We post a link to our bots, and they go to a service called MyFX Book, which literally goes in and gets the data from your brokerage account. We can't change that even if we wanted to. It is what it is. It's going to be posted that way. So our bots are successful for sure.
I have 2 of your bots. Big fan of it, simply because, again, I knew this was something I needed. But just like you, I'm running, I'm essentially in 3 different businesses at once.
Yeah.
My ability to sometimes I have to mute the Telegram because I've got so much going on, I can't pay attention. And so for me to be involved with this, it was invest in the bots and allow those to, essentially replace, I don't want to say replace me, but it's just to pay attention for me, be on top of mind for me. And
Right.
that way, and then I think it was a week or 2 ago, going into President's Day weekend, we got the notification like, hey, might be a good time to go ahead and get these turned off. So that's like the extent of my involvement, right? Is to make sure, is pay attention if anything major comes through, that I'm in there to protect myself and my investment.
Right.
But the bot's doing a lot of it. So a lot of really cool stuff. So we're coming up on the 30-minute mark here. So I do have one kind of last question here for you. I think my thing is, in our business, I see a lot of people that don't invest in their retirement, don't invest in their 401ks, right? Because again, the business is so up and down. Sometimes you're like, man, I need every penny I can get going into my checking account, right? So for those people who haven't done, there are folks that just kind of work for a company that doesn't offer, retirement benefits or 401ks. To me, this seems like a great way to take a small investment of capital, small investment of time, and start to build up for your future.
Yeah.
So, and again, if you take that slow is fast mentality, and I'm not going to ask you to do it because it seems ridiculous, but I've seen some of the numbers that you said that, like, hey, if you start with this and you go 5 years over this, you're in a really crazy spot, right?
Yeah.
Like what can be done. And it's sometimes it's hard to believe, but I do think that this is such a great way for people in the sales industry like we are to build for that future, because we don't want to be doing this unless you love it.
Right.
Unless you love it. But my father-in-law is 80 years old and he's still working part-time. Right.
Mhm.
I don't think any of us want to be at that spot.
Right. Unless you love it.
Right.
Exactly.
Unless you love it. So unless you love it. So awesome.
Warren Buffett said that compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world. It really is mind-blowing when you start looking at these numbers. And it doesn't take a whole lot to start. In fact, it takes almost nothing to start. But once you get started, that money starts compounding. And if you put it in the right places, it can get really good. Just real quick anecdotally. So there's a stock, you guys write this down, called it's JAGX. So the symbol is J like Juliet, A like Alpha, G like Golf, and then X like X-ray. And so every morning I do a scan for like maybe super undervalued stocks. And this stock was trading for 6 cents. I'm not a penny stock guy, but every once in a while, a stock will pop up that the fundamentals of the stock, the company is strong, it makes money. Every analyst that follows it gives it a strong buy recommendation, and it sells for 6 cents. It doesn't even make sense. I mean, I do know what happened. NASDAQ said we're going to delist you if you don't do these things. That doesn't affect the stock, I'm telling you. It does stop institutions from buying it. But anyway, so we told everybody to buy that stock. I bought 40,000 shares, which sounds fun to say, so impressive, but it's 6 cents. It's a very small investment. And I was just looking before the call, and the stock's up 40% today.
Oh,
Yeah, because
wow.
there's always these hidden gems, and I screen for them all the time. Oh,
And
by the
that's
way, at least get on our weekly list, if nothing else. It's free. You'll get our weekly video, and that gives you 6 stock picks every day.
cool.
Every
So if people are interested, so when they learn more about University of Options, where can they find out more? If they want to join, if they want to get in your list, what are all the details for that?
Okay, so the best thing is just send an email to me. And those get forwarded to our teammates just to
Mhm.
tell the truth. I just can't manage them all these days. Um, so don't tell me anything too personal. Um, So Dan at universityofoptions.com, and make sure you're so far ahead of me. And make sure you say that, you come from the Mortgage Loan Officer Network, because we will give you a discount. And this group has been so unbelievably good to me and for me that, we'll help you as much as we possibly can. But, let us know where you came from.
We appreciate that. So awesome. Well, Dan, again, I just want to let you know, I appreciate your support of MLO Network. I know Fisher does as well. He wishes he could have been on this call. But more so, like I said, just for me and for some of the loan officers that I'd recommend. I spoke to a guy who I recommended a couple months ago. He's almost out of the origination business altogether.
Is that
Right.
right?
Yeah. So I mean, he's still doing it, but he's gotten to the point where he's moving I guess I should say he sees the off ramp to the point where he's going to be earning enough that it's just going to switch, right? So it's going to switch to the point where he's like, hey, I'm comfortable doing this and I like doing this.
Yeah, it's fun.
So, and like you said, it's so much easier when you don't have to sell scared, right?
Right.
As a loan officer, knowing that I have an additional source of income, if when I see the market taking going the wrong way, and I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
But it's not that feeling of, oh my God, I got to go buy groceries tonight.
Right.
Right. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay my mortgage in 2 months?
Right.
Because I didn't
Right.
lock and all these loans are gone. So, which that's a whole other story. But having that additional source of income so important. You guys make it easy. I'll tell you this, and I say this, humbly. After going through University of Options, when I first heard about this and someone was telling me about this, I was like, I'll never understand it.
Right.
I was like, what's going to happen when Dan closes down?
Yeah.
Right? What if Dan shuts down? And I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? But your modules make it where you can learn and you can understand this. And you start to, and you do enough of the live trading, you start to see the signals and understand the principles. Where 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, all the fundamentals are there. You'll be able to do this yourself. It's not relying on you or Lee or whomever else is there.
Yeah. We work hard to make sure you don't need us. That's an important goal.
Yep. So
Dave Savage told me the other day that his son Jack, who's a senior in college, is making 10 grand a month, and he won't even take money from Dave anymore. Dave's like, bro, thank you. But again, it's easy to share these win stories. So I want to be careful about that. We have members that come in and lose.
Absolutely.
I told you about the guy that's down 3 grand his first month. If you don't pay attention and you really can't follow strict guidelines, which a lot of officers cannot, then you could struggle. But if you come in and you just really listen, focus, slow is fast, it's pretty hard to fail.
So last thing I have for you. So my daughter turns 18 in August. She's going off to school. My goal is when she turns 18 is I'm going to buy her a bot and set her up an account. And
Nice.
I'm going to fund that for her. And I'll probably go with one of your more conservative ones, right? And just let that grow for her over her 4 years of college. And then when she's done, I kind of mapped it out. I'm like, they'll have most of her college she'll be able to pay for it out of that.
Yeah.
Right. And start her off with something, where she's not going out into the world like, what do I do now?
Yep.
With $100,000 in student loans and hopefully getting a $50,000 job someplace.
Yep.
Right. To have her started. And, it's just so easy and it's such a good investment. So we appreciate it. We've gone over. Thank you. You've been so kind with your time. Everybody, if you're watching live, you're watching the replay, get Dan at universityoptions.com. And it said, if nothing else, just get on the free list, get the daily picks.
For sure do that. For sure do that. It'd be dumb not to get on a video list.
So cool. All right, Dan. Thank you. As always, thank you so much.
I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody.